Oh, the weather outside is frightful, but the fire is so delightful. And if there's no place to go, let it snow, let it snow, let it snow. Hello, love.
Well,
hi, darling.
Well, it's you.
It's me.
It's yourself. So the episode this week,
Yeah.
I appreciate that you are still, what's the word I'm looking for?
Rebuilding.
You are still rebuilding, and you are cooped up.
Convalescing.
You are cooped up at home.
I'm like a turkey.
200 degrees centigrade, and you only prod her until
Well
the juices run clear.
She makes lovely gravy.
But I have been out recently on a number of Christmas nights out.
Look at you.
I know, and I don't want to rub it in, but you're not a stranger to a Christmas night out yourself.
No, I'm not. I've always, Christmas nights out, I'm normally the entertainment. We are normally the entertainment.
Indeed. So I thought, well, what about we have a little bit of a chat and we share some of our insights into our Christmas nights out.
Yeah.
Work related, working them, being part of the Christmas night out.
Yeah.
Just see where the conversation takes us. What do you reckon?
Aye, go for it. I love it.
Well, over to you, Legsy.
Let me ask you this. What's the most memorable staff night out you've ever attended?
The most memorable one that really jumps out was I used to work for an IT company years ago.
Okay.
And we went to, it was then the Ramada Encore.
Oh, yeah.
Which is just up from where Mint used to be, which is now Common Market. It's the one on the corner.
Remember, yes.
And that was a Christmas night out with ones from work, and we done karaoke. Standard. We done karaoke, and I had asked Pauletta and wee Bobby Duffy to come round as a surprise, and would they just stand behind me and would they do like a dance routine for me while I done karaoke? Because it was the idea of the Christmas night out, it was very clinical. It was just like, we're just going to sit down and have our meal. We'll have a bit of a sing song, and there was not really...
There wasn't much
entertainment.
Yeah.
Now, we didn't really have the budget for it, to be fair. They just about covered food. And short of asking everybody to pay, anyway, so that was probably the most memorable one for me. There was nothing crazy about it. It was just the one that stands out because it was different, and Pauletta or Paul Nugent and Bobby come round. I bought them a few drinks for them coming out and dancing for literally a minute and a half for me. Do you know that way? But it always stands out when I think of Christmas dinners. What about
My
you?
last Christmas dinner as a guest, as in like not
Being there as
performing,
Tina, but not performing,
was in 2012.
Wow, that's gone back a while.
And the theme was Christmas pajamas, and I wore a Christmas onesie. So I did, and it was too tight.
Oh,
but it was too late because I thought it would have fitted me.
Okay.
And it was probably the most uncomfortable night out I've ever had because my crown jewels. Luckily, I'm an experienced tucker.
Now you have to explain what tucking is, because not everybody will know what that is.
Tucking is a drag queen's go-to, because to get that desired female flawless front look, you've got to look really, really smooth, and what you've got to do is grab your meat and two veg, seeing as we're talking about Christmas, and you got to pull it right back. And then you kind of sort of close your legs, and then they rest up at the back until they're comfortable. And then you grab a thong, and then you pull it up, and then you grab it around the back of between the cheeks of your bum. Give yourself a kind of a wedgie, and then you wait, and then you release. And then they're there. And that's what I had to do for that Christmas night out.
Do you use tuck tape?
No. I was born lucky. I was born lucky, love. You know what I mean? And that's what I had to do. But every other Christmas after that, I've been at multiple Christmas dues, but they were never mine.
Do you have a memorable Christmas?
Oh my God, yes.
Christmas do that you've performed at?
Yes. Union Street, I think it was like 2017, 2018. Walked in, 20 men, gorgeous looking fit men, flew from England, Yorkshire.
Wow.
They were firemen.
Oh.
and all the girlies and everybody was kind of feeling a wee bit intimidated. I was in my element. And I will never forget. Now, you know what I'm like when I love to perform. I go down early. I was over chatting with them. I was having the banter with them. They were knocking the beers back. We were having arm wrestles. We were doing, and this is before the show started. And we were having the crack, and the music was on, and it was pumping. And I was like, right, lads. And they were like, right, Tina. Now, a couple of lads got up and they sang. They were brilliant. They were fantastic. I loved them. And everybody, once that barrier of communication was broke down by myself, people were walking past going, oh my God, they're lovely. Oh my God, here. But nobody decided to go over and say, well, where he's from, you know. I was straight in. I handbag in the middle of the table. Right, lads, where are we from? And they were from Yorkshire. But one of their friends had been over. He was on a stag weekend 3 months previous, and he loved it that much. He told all the boys in the station. So they booked flights.
Wow.
To come to Christmas Tioki.
Wow.
And they all landed over. And what did I do? I said, right, boys, got a challenge for you. And they were like, right. And I said, now, these, ladies and gentlemen, these are lifesavers. These are firemen, and they put their lives at risk, and they're in a gay bar. And I'm just wondering, will they reciprocate to the challenge? And they were like, right, okay. So I made them all stand up and put them all in different positions. And I said, right, okay. You're used to climbing up a pole. You're used to sliding down a pole. When we call 999, I'm going to play this song, and you're going to follow me. And it was Monty Python.
Phil Monty, you thinking of?
Phil Monty.
Phil Monty. Okay.
And I said, whichever one of you goes the whole way will get a big, massive bottle of champagne.
Was this like Hot Stuff
you
by Donna Summer?
You can leave your head on.
Yeah.
And they did it.
Wow.
And because one was going, he took his the other one took his t-shirt off, the other one took his shirt off. They were doing the belts and all, and then the next thing the jeans and all come down, the trousers come down, and then the next thing I was all, more, and everybody was screaming and yelling, and the next thing one just put his hand over his meat and two veg, down with his underwear, and that was it, and the place erupted. That was one of the most enjoyable shows I've ever done in all my years. It was, those boys were amazing.
You've got a real knack for that. So you've got a real knack for
that's
getting
my
the crowd
playground.
going.
Give me a microphone, a bunch of lads, I'd be in the middle of it and all, you know what I mean? And it was so good, it was so fun. And every now and again, you know, since then, you would have come back in 2s and 3s, and they would have been in the bar, and they would have been, well, Tina, and I recognise every single one of them.
You know, that could have went one of two ways.
I wish they had went the other way as well.
No, what I was thinking there was it could have ended up as a Devonish.
Oh God. But you know what? It just goes to show you, like, I mean, well, obviously that occasion there was completely different from anybody else. But that was my bestest.
Wow.
That's the one I will remember that I had. And Eddie McClay, the entertainment's manager, because it was videos, isn't it?
I think I remember seeing the videos for that.
The videos went up, and then the next thing, it was about 10 o'clock on the Monday morning, and I was just coming back from the gym, and my phone rang, and he goes, good morning. And I went, morning. And he's a bit like, you know, Charlie from Charlie's Angels. Nobody ever really saw him.
Oh, yeah,
It's just that distinct voice.
Yeah.
Good morning, Angels. And he was all, good morning, Tina. And I was all, good morning, Eddie. And it was, how in the name of good God, he didn't say that. Like, did you get 20 straight, absolutely stunningly beautiful firemen from Yorkshire to do the strip in the middle of the bar at 6 o'clock on a Saturday evening? And I was all, it's really easy.
That's why you pay me.
And he went, phenomenal. Phenomenal. You know, it was just that to me will stay with me forever. You know.
So, like, I mean, that sounds like a really great Christmas night out. What do you think? Like, again, and I appreciate like you're sort of self-employed, but in your sort of idea, what makes like a really good Christmas night out for you?
The people. It's definitely who you're going out with. I know when it's different when you work with people and you spend most of your time with them 5 days a week, 6 days a week or whatever, but it doesn't mean to say you're going to become very good social. So you mightn't click, you know, because everybody's different.
Yeah.
Everybody is really different. You need to be wary of that.
Yeah.
I remember we went to a Christmas barbecue once when I worked in the Royal, and not mention his name. And there was always that heightened tension between me because he lived with a man. I'd been with a man for the last 30 odd years, and they had a bought house together, but they were just friends. Now I was out. And I know he always held that against me. So this big barbecue was happening, and even then he couldn't help but be rude to me. And I thought to myself, I could say anything I wanted right now, you know, because we are not in work, but I let him, and it got so bad that I just went, right, I'm going to leave now, and everybody left with me.
Yeah.
And I just thought to myself, do you know what, this is how sad you are, because you're looking at my life and thinking, why didn't you live your life the way I'm living my life? So, and then the next day when we were all turned to work, and the girls and the nurses were like, are you okay? And I was like, yeah, I'm fine. I said, but he's like that all the time. And they were like, but that was it was really bad, like it was really severe, very, very ignorant. Him and his brother as well, who was even gayer than him. And I didn't think it was possible, but it was. But the two of them let themselves down a bucketful. And do you know something? From that happened, and I had that moment in my head. I thought, I'm not going to walk away. I'm just going to let you do this, because you're this. Everybody needs to see this. There was nothing left to say after that, because I think somebody had pulled him to the side and said, what you did was disgraceful. And he couldn't approach me, he couldn't speak to me, he couldn't look at me, he couldn't talk to me. Do you know what I mean?
Yeah. What about the locations that you've been to? Like, have you been to any sort of weird and wonderful places for a staff night out, or even just as being asked to sort of work? Have you ever went anywhere?
I remember we went to London once with all the ones from the Kremlin, and I missed the flight home.
Of course you did.
Yeah.
Of course you did.
So I stayed another night.
Why not?
Yeah.
Why not?
That was good. What about you?
Because most of the places I've worked have been very corporate, like we tend to go to some random hotel most of the time, you know.
Yeah.
There are places that do like, I know Crumlin Road Jail would be an amazing setting, you know. In the actual jail part itself would be a pretty awesome Christmas dinner kind of experience.
Aye.
You know, just in terms of the venue and stuff like that, and the food in there is good as well, but I unfortunately, all of ours have been pretty sort of board, you know, like just across the board kind of standard hotel,
standard,
and it's kind
school
of
dinners.
Well, yeah, it's kind of like the same. The Christmas dinner is kind of the same as what you get at a wedding, almost. You know, that way they're all sort of like mass prepared, and you know, that kind of way.
Exactly. But tell me this. Let me ask you this. Do you think staff nights out should be paid for by the employers, or should the staff contribute?
Well, actually, I can tell you that I've worked in organisations where it's been contributed, and we also have to pay as a staff. So the organisation I work in at the moment, we have to pay for our own Christmas dinner.
Okay.
We don't get any contribution towards it at all.
We were the same, yeah.
And to be honest, like, I mean, and I know that some people might find that as a bit like but we're rewarded in other ways as employees. Certainly I am in the organisation I'm in. I'm rewarded in other ways. So I sort of just see that as well, they don't put the money into this, but they put the money into that. And, you know, it kind of, as far as I'm concerned, it kind of all evens out over the course of the year. Do you know that way? But it is nice to be on a staff night out and you've not really had to put your hand in your pocket as well.
Yeah.
You know, it kind of adds just to the night itself. Do you know that way?
Oh, I do.
But
it's always nice when you don't have to contribute.
Well, it is. And I suppose it can also be viewed as a nice way of feeling appreciated.
Yeah.
But like I said, that doesn't necessarily always translate, because I also feel appreciated because I've given that in maybe just a different way. Do you know that way?
Yeah, I know what you mean.
But here, you mentioned earlier on about sort of like, you know, people at Christmas dinners. There's always characters, isn't there?
Oh God.
Always characters.
There's always a show off.
Okay, so explain some of the characters. See how many we can sort of rhyme off.
So you've always got the show off. You've always got the one who turns up the latest. There's always that one who everybody will start, will go ahead, will wait, and they're not replying to text messages, not replying to phone call. That is the height of ignorance.
I find that really, really annoying. Totally
disrespectful. You've always got the one who gets the drunkest the quickest.
Yes.
So you do. But I like the one who you see out of uniform that walks in and you instantly start to find them attractive. I like that one, you know, that unsurprising. They take their glasses off and it's
like a Clark Kent from sort of Superman idea, isn't it? It's like your glasses are off, you've got your contacts in.
And the hair's fixed and they've got gorgeous perfume on and you're like, hi.
We always have we have all of those characters, but then there's always like the most senior member of the staff, like the big boss, And whenever they're out of the office, you see them in a completely different light.
Absolutely.
Where they're actually, you know, they can sort of let their hair down a bit and, you know, just sort of relax, and they're sort of, you know, cracking funnies and things that, you know, that side of their personality that you may never kind of see.
Yeah.
And then you always have the over enthusiastic dancer. I'm pretty sure that's me, by the way.
Yeah, that's you, love. Do you know something? When I am out, I love to people watch. I have a wee tiny bit of a boogie when a certain song comes on, and then I'll sit down. I love when I'm out, the people who I'm with. Number one, is so important, and number two, I like being in that nice, safe kind of cheesy, girly, Christmassy kind of atmosphere. And I only get affected when I see someone who stands out. You know, the person who doesn't like Christmas. I don't want to be here. I'm not wearing a Christmas jumper.
Yeah.
And
Again, that's probably me. You're just describing. Well, apart from the I don't want to be here part, but I don't want to wear a Christmas jumper. I don't want to put the Christmas hat on from the cracker.
See, that to me is like, it's just once. It's just once. Shut up and put it on. You know what I mean? And I just find that
how dare you force me to have fun?
Well,
I mean, how dare you?
Hurry dare you? But I think, you know what I mean? If you're going to do it all. It's only one night. You can take it off halfway through, for crying out loud. Shut your peephole. You know?
All right, ma. All right.
Here, tell me this. Have you ever had an awkward moment at a staff night out?
Oh God, I probably have. To be fair, I've probably
too.
done that oversharing thing where I've just sort of ran my mouth a bit, and
I know.
you know how you know how I never do that.
Yeah.
You know, where brain sort of doesn't engage mouth just runs off, and I probably said the wrong type of thing.
Aye. How do you recover from that?
Well, I always own it, because what can you do? Like, I've said it. Like, you know, I have the fear the next day. Like,
Yeah.
always have the fear the next day where I sort of panic and think, well, what did I actually say last night?
Yeah.
But like, what can you do? You've said it. Like,
well,
you can't sort of take it back.
No.
I just sort of, I mean, if I've stepped over the mark, or I've said something that I realise I shouldn't have said, I'll be the first to apologise and say, I'm extremely
It's
sorry.
only a drink talk.
No,
Normally
that's
what
it.
I do is I wake up the next morning, I get dressed, and then I go home. Took you a minute there, didn't it?
Slit. But no, like, I mean, there haven't really been sort of anything that's sort of serious. Like, I've never received an email from HR, is what I would say.
Good.
Like, do you know, that way? Like, I've never, although in saying that, like, I mean, we get a lot of comms, communications internally, particularly for the organisation I work in at the moment, where they're kind of like reminding you that you're on like a Christmas dinner, and you need to sort of watch yourself. This is still technically a work event, therefore they're still working, therefore you're governed by the same rules, you know, like, sort of like, you know, really just dumbing down the crack, do you know, that way.
Do you have any do's and don'ts on like a staff night out, or the particular at the Christmas staff night out?
Yeah, I mean, first thing is well, yeah, I definitely remember that you're on a Christmas night out, and I think that's important. It depends really who's there for me.
Okay.
So to give you a bit of an example, so I went out with what I would class as work friends.
Yeah.
They're not really, I mean, one of them was my boss, but like, we kind of get on, you know, we've all kind of got the same humour. We kind of get each other, and, you know, whenever we've all had a few drinks, we all get a bit silly, and we're all kind of the same. So that doesn't really sort of faze me.
Yeah, no.
But if it was at an actual sort of sit down where all my other colleagues were about and what have you, I would probably not just drink as much. You know, sort of keep track of myself and make sure that I don't sort of show myself up.
Yeah.
Whereas if I was out with the ones that was out very recently with like the work friends, well, ended up sort of just getting her hair down and ended up into the Kremlin until 3 o'clock in the morning. You know,
as you often do, love. You often do.
What about you? Do you have any sort of any rules, even at like a particular Christmas gig? Is there any kind of things that you stay clear of, or
alcohol?
But you're good.
I'm pretty disciplined. I mean, even before that, and when I was going out, I would have not got too drunk too quick, because I always wanted to make sure I enjoyed myself. I didn't care about letting myself down. If I want to let myself down, I let myself down. It's me that has to apologise, not you.
Yeah.
And I would normally just be very weary of people who I'm not normally socially with or spend time with. And I always make a point of talking to those people.
Yeah.
Because do you ever notice sometimes that you find yourself in a group full of people and some people are communicating and laughing and joking? I always make it a point of saying hello or trying to talk to absolutely everybody who's in that group. I do find that there are people who can be socially inept and find that quite difficult. And if there's someone sitting there and they've barely spoken to anybody, I would make a beeline for that person, go over and introduce myself and have a bit of a chat. And if I don't get anything back, they want to be left alone.
Yeah.
And if they do, and then they start to come around a wee bit, that's all it took was like 5 minutes of, well, are you enjoying yourself? What are you drinking? Okay. Oh, that's good. And are you with somebody, or just generally, you know, making sure that they're okay and they're happy enough? Because there's nothing worse than being in a room full of people who are having the best time and that one person sitting there just feeling completely and utterly alone.
So what makes you a great host, I have to say.
Oh, right.
That's what it is. I think other things for me, though, and sometimes it does happen, is that you sort of get into a sort of group of people who forget.
Yeah.
And as you know, the drinks flow, you know, lips start to become a bit loose. And as I mentioned already, like, I am an oversharer anyway. That's just the type of person that I am.
Yeah.
And you know, I like to think mostly I'm open, unfortunately. But there is that sort of risk as well of office gossip and trying not to engage in the office gossip. Do you know that way?
Don't.
And again, if I'm dependent upon the company that I'm in, trying not to be that oversharer, you know, don't saying something that you have to apologise for the next day.
Yeah, because someone will say, well, did you hear what such and such said and such and such said? And if you make a comment, it's like, no, it wasn't. It was Glenn who said that. But you're roped into some level of drama. And you didn't even know because you thought it was a passing conversation or just a comment, but it was you who said that. You know what I mean?
But this is the thing: you don't want to attend, you know, like a Christmas dinner, and then that to ultimately impact on like a workplace relationship. Do you know that way?
Absolutely.
Like it's you know, and that's, I think that's where employers in general.
Going back to what I said earlier about that horrible night that I had, and it was a night out, and it was like a Christmas barbecue thing, and it was almost instant when I arrived. Yeah. It was almost as it had, like, he had prepared for this. And, but something inside me said, don't leave yet.
Yeah.
And because I was ignoring what was being said to me, it was then being shouted at me. And it's definitely impacted not only the relationship that I had with him. I'd taken him to the union several times. He had been forewarned. It had been documented that he was completely out of line. He was completely unprofessional. He was being told to rein it in because he'd been away from the department I'd worked in for nearly 8 years, and all of a sudden I land there and he wants back.
Yeah.
So that night, this impacted everything, not just me. Everybody.
It creates tension and it ruins everybody's night, doesn't it? Really.
Well, not only that, it was even there was husbands and there was partners of some of the people I worked with were going over and saying, "Hey, that's going too far."
Yeah.
He was making them feel extremely uncomfortable. Never mind me. And I think it got worse because I stood my ground. The impact it had was that forever the next day in work, no one looked at him in the same way.
Mm-hmm. And it can be kind of damaging. But then let's flip that around. Sometimes you end up, you know, sitting beside somebody that you've never met before.
Yeah.
Or that you've maybe just sort of seen them about the office or, you know, about the workplace. You end up chatting to them, and actually you form a bond there that you never really knew that could exist or should exist before, and you actually make friends.
Yeah.
So it can kind of work both ways, can't it? Although, just funny story about then it's sort of like how it can impact relationships. I was at a party a couple of years ago and we were all given our Christmas crackers, and this was a member of the team who'd pulled a Christmas cracker, and inside it there was crayons.
Okay.
Now these are adults, by the way, just keep that in mind. And they started to draw penises on the actual white linen on the table. And the way that the Christmas dinners typically work is that the most senior person there is responsible. And of course, you know, that put that person and the senior member of staff into a real precarious situation whereby they were responsible for the actions of this. It was a juvenile thing, like really drawing penises with crayon. Like, I get that it could be funny because you're surrounded with people and you're being what was it? You know, the office joker, you know, or whatever. But can have a profound impact on somebody the next day, because they're like, I'm responsible for that person, and I could have been pulled in with HR. So it's a very fine balance,
It really is.
Very fine balance.
It really is.
But do you think, like, have you seen it, like, from all the sort of gigs that you've done over the years, Tina, have you seen like the trend of office parties or just Christmas nights out? Have you seen those kind of things change?
Yes.
How so?
There's a lot of people want to do stuff earlier in the afternoons. There's a lot of people don't want a traditional Christmas dinner. You walk in and it's a ballroom with lots of different companies, and people want something a bit more intimate. And they'd rather not have the full traditional Christmas dinner.
Yeah.
They may want just part of that, but more entertainment, so that they can enjoy their drink more, they can enjoy the entertainment more, not feeling as bloated. And I think because for such a long time it was at Christmas, it was a system, and it was a routine that you followed. You sat down and you had all these servers coming out with the roasties and the creamies and the meat and the gravy, and then the band came on. Where now it's evolving to Christmas brunch.
Yeah.
Christmas game show, Christmas cabaret.
Yeah.
All those different little things are starting to filter through now, and people do definitely want something different. And a lot of people would prefer to go out early, to get home early.
Do you think though that that's because people are now less reluctant to spend their time doing things for the office? They would rather go out during office time.
Do you know
what I mean? And I think I certainly would feel that way. I mean, I'm quite happy to go out because I turn up to the opening of an envelope, as you know. But some people are reluctant to go, well, my time's my time.
Yeah.
I'd rather do something during the work day rather than you eat into my time for that.
I just think it's, you know what I mean? Everything changes. Nothing ever stays the same, really, to be honest.
And I think COVID had a big impact on that as well, didn't it?
It really did. And also the cost of living.
Yeah.
And getting home and feeling safe and being in a strange place. And if it was, like far away, it's much easier to get a lift to somewhere at 2:00 in the afternoon and then get picked up at 7, rather than get dropped off at 7 and try to make your own way home.
I have a question for you.
Go.
Have you ever done a Christmas event or any event? I'm pretty sure this is about Christmas work events, but actually, have you ever done any kind of event, Christmas or otherwise, that has been dry?
Never.
Isn't that, I've never really thought about that before,
Never.
but
Not yet.
I'd be really keen to understand your views. Well, no, just your views and the type of the audience and how that would work for you versus, because with a drunk audience, like, the longer the night goes on, the more loose they get. Whereas if it was a dry audience, would you have to work 5 times as hard? Probably not, because you're awesome.
Not necessarily. It just depends on the type of people you have in and who's sitting in front of you and what they're up for.
Yeah.
If they're really engaging, alcohol does help, yes, but it doesn't matter to me. An audience is an audience, and they've paid to be entertained, and that's exactly what I'll do with them. So dry or not, it works for me.
Yeah,
it really does.
Indeed.
So here, let me ask you this: what is your best advice for making the most out of a Christmas staff night out?
I think the best thing for making the most out of it is be open to having fun.
Yeah.
You're never going to find an event that suits everybody.
Yeah.
I know from organising large groups of people that you're never going to find a date that works for everybody. You're not going to find a venue that works for everybody, that serves the right kind of food that everybody wants.
That's true.
Don't put too much pressure on organising a staff night out. A staff night out, for the people who want to go, will make the time to be there. If they cannot make the time to be there, then don't sweat it.
Yeah.
Do something that is fun. It doesn't always have to be around alcohol, because more and more people are choosing not to do alcohol nights out. They want to do alcohol-free nights out, so you can do different things.
Yeah.
Some form of entertainment is always a good shout. Drags to Riches, just saying. Or
Crazy
Crazy Bingo.
Crazy Bingo or
G&T Karaoke.
That's it. Couldn't get it out.
That's just a couple of advice tips that I would have. What about you? Do you have any sort of...
I just think generally... number one, for any advice I would give anybody going on a Christmas night or a night out, stay as safe as you possibly can. If it's somewhere you've never been before, Google it. See how far it is away. You know, do your homework. If you're going to go out with a friend, stay with that friend, you know, and try and arrange alternative transport if you can. Always approach a member of staff when you're out. In the event if you feel nervous or someone's making you feel vulnerable or apprehensive, you know, no matter what state you're in, if you feel that you need help or assistance, that's what the bar staff, the floor staff, the door staff are there to do. You know, don't be a raven. You might have got something wrong, but don't be a maniac about it. You know, I know drink changes people and it can make you feel a certain way, but always, you know, be kind when you go out. Stay safe and have a really, really good time. Try to be a little bit sensible. Of course, want you to enjoy yourself. Of course, let your hair down and go a wee bit bucked daft. You know, but I think Christmas night out, whatever night out you're going to have, and especially if it's people you work with, bear that in mind because you have to face them the next day.
Definitely. And do not get into the car after having a few drinks.
Yeah. Do not get in the car with a strange man if he's got sweeties.
Another thing, by the way, if you do find yourself on a Christmas night out, either work related or otherwise, and you feel uncomfortable, you know, there is, and if you don't feel that you can leave, you can always ask for Angela. Most bars run this now.
Yeah.
So if you are in a situation where you feel uncomfortable and you don't know how to get out of it, ask for Angela behind the bar, or, you know, ask for a bit of paper, till receipt, and write a message to the person at the bar or something like that. Just make somebody aware of it.
I've seen that.
Stay
ask
safe.
for Angela. You go to the bar and you ask for Angela, and if they don't click on as to what it is, you ask for the manager.
Yeah.
And then when the manager comes down, the manager should know who Angela is, and then they will escort you to a safe place.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
Well, look, Lexi, we're out of time.
We are.
Unfortunately, that's all the time we have. But thank you so much.
You're more than what, honey.
Great chatting to you as per usual. Till next time.
Chin chin.
Thanks for tuning in to this episode of G&T Sips and Giggles. If you've enjoyed our conversation, then don't forget to share it with your friends, and why not subscribe to the podcast so you never miss an episode. Your reviews mean the world to us and really help others find the show, so please take a moment to leave one, but be kind. If you'd like to support the podcast, why not consider joining us on Patreon? For the cost of a drink a month, you can listen to episodes early, access exclusive digital content, and get discounts to upcoming G&T shows. Your support helps us keep the conversation flowing. Cheers, we'll see you next time. Chin chin.